Okay, Noah, you're going to get us started today in seventh period. He's so excited, everybody. Noah, this is what I gave you at the end of last class. It's fill in the blank. And the first blanks are the pathway of oxygen into your respiratory tract. How do I know it's oxygen going in? And why is this not tracking carbon dioxide? Yes. If it was carbon dioxide, where would the nostrils be in this sequence? Perfect. Good. I'm glad you thought about it. You didn't just try to say the first thing in your mind. Potato chip. Some people say some weird stuff when they speak before they think. All right. After the nostrils, what is the next station, section, part of your respiratory system? You breathe in air and then it goes into your mouth? No. You breathe it in through your nostrils. Where does it go after that? What's that big opening in your skull that your nostrils lead to? Jackie is dying to tell you. So you guys said that when you breathe in air, it goes from your nostrils to your mouth. Isabella will tell you. The nasal cavity. All right, Noah, here's a chance to redeem yourself. After it's in your nasal cavity, where does it go next? Yes, your throat. All right, then it goes to your larynx, which is through your voice box. Melanie, what's below your larynx? Very good, the trachea. Chris, after it's in your trachea, what does your trachea branch into? Correct. All right, everyone. There's the little sequence. Scout, what prevents food from going into the nasal cavity? The uvula. That little punching bag in the back of your throat is supposed to prevent food from going up into your nasal cavity. Hannah, a food passageway posterior to the trachea, which means it is behind your trachea. C, esophagus. Oh, D, my bad. D, esophagus. Grace, it closes off the larynx during swallowing. C, epiglottis. Glottis. Who can tell me what the glottis is? What is the glottis? I'm glad I'm so happy no one immediately tried to race to answer. You thought about it. So now you thought about it. What is it, Chris? It's the opening of the trachea. Good. The epiglottis covers it up. All right, number 5. Lillian, a C-shaped ring passageway for air only. Trachea. Dan, number 6, the actual site of gas exchange. Mm-hmm. Okay, Halen, conducting passageway takes air to the alveoli. Okay, Jacqueline, the first site where air is warmed, moistened, and filtered. I'll give you a hint. It's after your nares. Yeah, the nasal cavity. Okay, who do I need to get? Sloan. Contains vocal folds, plays a role in speech. Whoa, I spelled that wrong. And Jake, common passageway for food and air. Okay, check your answers. This is what you guys should know up to this point. All right, let me erase that for next period. And we're going to finish up anatomy with blood flow. All right. So yesterday we finished with the pleurae. You guys have, if you were looking at a lung, just like this one, this fake lung I'm holding in my hand, what are you staring at? What is the name of the tissue, this outer casing? The what? The parietal pleurae. I was looking for pleurae, and then the outer layer is parietal. What's the inner layer that you can't see unless you dissected it? The visceral pleurae. Good. Okay. Well, the last thing that we need to get to before we discuss physiology is going to be blood flow. And in my classes today, there's still a bit of confusion, especially when it comes to internal respiration, external respiration. So I want to try to get this sorted out for good. All right. So let's start with this. We got some clouds. We got the air. We got the sun. This all represents the atmosphere, the outside world. Then we have your heart. And then we have your lungs. Which pathway does oxygen take? It goes from where to where? To where? Oh, hold on. Let me draw this. I left off one. My fault. What do you think these are? Very good. These are cells. Let me draw some nuclei in there. What process takes place in your cells that requires oxygen? Cell respiration. You learned that when you were a freshman. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It makes ATP. In order to make ATP, you need sugar and oxygen. Great. Okay. Can you tell me, where does oxygen originally come from? After plants release it, where does it go? No. It's in the atmosphere first. You didn't say that. You said lungs. Oh, excuse me. Okay. So it goes from the lungs to the atmosphere. So the oxygen goes from the atmosphere to your lungs. Where does oxygen go after that? Noah? Good. A lot of people think that it goes straight from your lungs to your body. You have to remember that your heart is a pump, and it has to pump the blood to your body first. After the oxygen is in the left side of your heart, the left atrium, the left ventricle, it gets pumped out of the aorta, and then it goes to your body. This is the pathway of oxygen, everybody. Now, before I even move on to carbon dioxide, I want to make sure that you understand what is internal respiration and what is external respiration. I'll give you a choice here. You don't need to write these numbers down, but here's option 1, here's option 2, here's option 3. Those lines. Which one of those is external respiration? 1, 2, or 3? Think before you speak. Raise your hand if you think you've got it. Jackie? It is not 3. That is not external respiration. That's the other one. Lily? 2. 2 is external respiration. When oxygen is going from your lungs to your, this is my fault. I should have made it a little bit better. Let's clear this up. This is kind of my fault. How does oxygen go from your lungs to your heart? What is it being carried in? That's what probably would have made this a little easier. So that is blood and this is blood. But when oxygen is being transferred from your lungs to your blood, that is going to be external respiration. And so what is 3? Where it's being transferred from your blood to your actual cells and tissues. Why is it doing this? What is that? Internal. So we're clear. When it comes to oxygen, external respiration, and again, this has been giving people fits all day today. You guys are probably no different. External respiration is going from the lungs, and more specifically, the alveoli, to the blood. And so internal respiration In internal respiration, you go from the blood to your cells and tissues. All right, let's track the pathway of carbon dioxide now. Scout, where does carbon dioxide begin its journey here with all the choices you have? In the cells. And where does it go first? Good. And then it goes to the right side of your heart, your right atrium, your right ventricle. Where does it go next? Anybody? Where? The lungs. And then after it's in your lungs, it gets deposited into your alveoli. And what's the final stop? You exhale it back into the atmosphere. Whoops. Okay, so this is CO2. This is CO2. That's blood. Blood. And then you totally exhale it back into the atmosphere. So the pathway of oxygen is atmosphere, heart. No, oxygen is atmosphere, lungs, heart, cells, and tissues. Carbon dioxide is cells, blood, heart, lungs, atmosphere. For carbon dioxide, internal respiration comes first. It's the opposite. You're going from your cells and tissues to the blood. Your blood transports this carbon dioxide eventually to your lungs. It's going to go from your blood, or excuse me, from your blood to your lungs, and your lungs will put it into the atmosphere. All right. So again, that has been giving people fits all day. I've been asking what is internal respiration, what is external respiration. I've been getting a lot of blank stares and a lot of silence. It stands to reason you all may feel the same way. So I hope that clears it up a little better. So on Monday, when I ask you what's internal, what's external, you might have a better idea of it. And I will be asking you that, so be ready. You have a test in less than 1 week. So I want to bring up a part of the lesson you guys received from your cardiovascular system. What are the only blood vessels in your entire body that carry deoxygenated blood? No. The only blood vessel, you're right, and I keep saying this wrong. What are the only arteries? That's what I meant to say. What are the only arteries that carry deoxygenated blood? And what does pulmonary mean? Lungs. So pulmonary arteries, as you hopefully recall, they follow your right ventricle, and they are the only arteries that carry deoxygenated blood. So when I say deoxygenated, is it oxygen rich or oxygen poor? That's easy. It's oxygen poor. Well, guys, if it's oxygen poor, what gas must be really rich in? It's carbon dioxide rich. You want to get rid of it. And so this blood travels from your heart to your lungs, or more specifically, from your body to your lungs, and your heart is just a pump to get it there. So it goes from body to heart. And again, here's another question from cardiovascular. What side of your heart handles deoxygenated blood? The left side or the right side? Right side. And then it goes to your lungs. The carbon dioxide is deposited in your alveoli. Remember that your alveoli are their site of gas exchange. Carbon dioxide is delivered to your lungs, and then your lungs get rid of it into the atmosphere. CO2 is diffused from blood to alveoli. Okay, and pretty common question, after your lungs, what are the only veins in your body that carry oxygenated blood? Pulmonary veins. The only veins that carry oxygenated blood in your whole body. If they're oxygenated, how would you describe their oxygen content? Rich or poor? Jackie? It's oxygen rich. So Noah, if the veins are carrying oxygen rich blood, how would you describe the concentration of carbon dioxide? Yes. Carbon dioxide poor. So let's see if you guys can finish this off. You get oxygen in your lungs. What is the next stop of oxygenated blood once it is formed in your lungs? Heart, good. Your heart then pumps it. What side? Left side or right side? Left side, your left atrium, your left ventricle. And then where does your heart pump this oxygenated blood to? Your body. This is your systemic circuit, by the way. And then lastly, oxygen is diffused from alveoli to the blood. Am I describing internal respiration or external respiration with that sentence? External. What would be a statement or sentence to describe internal respiration? Oxygen is diffused from where to where? Not heart. Blood to cells. It is diffused from blood to cells. Be sure you focus and try to study a little bit on that one, because I have 93 anatomy students and most of them have been like, I'm not sure about internal, external. External respiration for oxygen is lungs to blood. Internal respiration for oxygen is blood to body, cells. External respiration for CO2 is blood to lungs. Internal respiration for CO2 is cells to blood. Okay, everyone. We're going to take a breather from the lecture. I have a few videos to show you. If you're watching online, I'll show you what videos I'm going to show. Let's bring this up first. We're going to watch this video that says, how do your lungs work? And then we've already watched that. Then I'm going to show you a video of smoker's lung versus healthy lungs. I'm going to mention a little bit about pneumonia. Okay. So I'm going to pause the share. Okay. We're going to finish out today's class with just a little bit of a lesson on air pressure and pressure in your lungs. So this is going to be the beginning of respiratory physiology. This will carry over into next class. Physiology and how it actually works. Next week, I'll teach you how the diaphragm works, its role in pressure, carbon dioxide, and oxygen effects on pH levels. We'll do that next week. I'll also teach you some diseases like COPD, emphysema. COPD is chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. Some of you may have family that have had it. But let's just do a little bit on pressure, okay? I know that a lot of you are juniors, and when you're a sophomore, you're supposed to take chem, but we had e-learning last year. The school was just really messy last year, so you may not know. But here at sea level, you don't get much more sea level than Florida. How many atmospheres are we here at sea level? Do any of you know from chem? 1. At sea level, we are equivalent to 1 atmosphere of pressure. Atmospheres is one of the various measurements we use for pressure. You may have heard of bars. What was the unit of measurement we used when we did your blood pressure? Do you recall that? Millimeters of mercury. 1 atmosphere is equal to 760 millimeters of mercury. These are the same values. And again, you don't get much more sea level than here in Florida. But what if you were to go to Denver, Colorado? Does the pressure increase or decrease up there? It decreases. You need to know that. As you go up and up and up in the atmosphere, pressure decreases. And eventually, when you get to space, how would you describe atmospheric pressure? There is none. There is no pressure. And so, as a little bit of a side note, this is totally not going to be in your test. I think this is just an easy explanation for you all to realize. Let's say you're watching, Chris, you ever seen the movie Aliens? The big queen and the fight at the end. How do they kill the queen? Do you remember? It gets sucked out of the spaceship. Key word, it gets sucked out of the spaceship. Space is a vacuum. Well, let's say here's the spaceship. You don't need to write this. I just want you guys to really realize this. This could also be up in an airplane. The spaceship is pressurized. So let's say inside in the spaceship, it is 1 atmosphere. What is the measurement of pressure in space? Is it more or less than 1 atmosphere? It's less, guys. It is 0 atmospheres. There is no pressure in space. And so in movies like Alien or Aliens or other sci-fi films where a window opens, a door opens, and things get sucked out, this goes back to the most basic ideas of diffusion. In diffusion, do you go from high to low or low to high? High to low. So what is high to low? 1 to 0 or 0 to 1? 1 to 0. So you open that door, things get sucked out. That's why you have that effect. Will this eventually equalize? Sure, it will equalize, but you got to get everything sucked out first. And here's the problem. If this were to happen on a spaceship, what is being sucked out? Oxygen, breathable air, all the gases, all the things that are in the spaceship, breathable air in particular, gets sucked out. And so that's just a common theme when you see airplanes. They pressurize the door, they seal the door. So if you were to open an airplane's window or door, things would get sucked out too. All right, well, the 2 pressures I like to get for you all today before you're dismissed is intrapulmonary pressure. This is pressure within your lungs. We're going to call this P-U-L, as in pulmonary. Are your lungs directly connected to the atmosphere? Yes, no? Yes, your lungs are directly connected to the atmosphere. That's where you get your air from. So the pressure is equal to the atmosphere. So if you're here in Tampa, Florida, you open your mouth and take in a deep breath like Melanie is right now. What is the pressure inside your lungs if you're down here at sea level? 1 atmosphere. What would that be in millimeters of mercury? 760. So right now, all you Floridians, your lungs should equal the atmosphere. If you're Chris going to University of Utah in Salt Lake City, that's a little bit up in the mountains. It's going to be a little lower than that. Whatever the atmosphere is, that's going to be you. Now, the last one I can get you guys today is intrapleural. Intrapleural pressure. That's a capital P with a subscript IP, as in intrapleural pressure. This is the pressure in the pleural cavity. At the end of last lesson, we did the pleural cavity. If you don't know what that is, I recommend you look at the last video. This is always approximately 4 millimeters of mercury less than the atmosphere. So all you Floridians in the class right now, what would your intrapleural pressure be right now? If the atmosphere is 760 right here, what would your intrapleural cavity be? It would be 756 millimeters of mercury. All right, we'll stop it there. Don't forget your math.